Hey guys, welcome to our newest, the first of the year episode of YOML, and Happy New Year to everybody. Today we're on Reflection 180, and we want to talk about the other minds.
Yeah.
I'll let Chris tell you what other minds are and what he means by that
Yeah, I think you actually brought this book up a couple
before.
weeks
Yes.
back actually. Yeah. Um uh
Well, it's the last one when we were talking about the gut.
oh yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, yeah. And yes, you're yeah, 100%. So yeah, this is a really interesting book. It's called Other Minds: The Octopus, the Sea, and the Deep Origins of Consciousness by the author Peter Godfrey-Smith. This book's about octopuses and other cephalopods like was it scuttlefish or
Scuttlefish.
what are the other shuttlefish, is that it's cuttlefish and squid and octopus. They're the cephalopods. So they're pretty interesting creatures, and apparently they may have consciousness. And this book talks about the evolution of the tree of life, basically, and how we're all on the same tree of life and all connected, but just gone to different branches. And we all started from the same stuff. And evolution just evolved things into certain other ways. And it's probably just a good time just to jump into the reflection, because like part of like this reflection is me learning about this kind of stuff in general. So the
Mm-hmm.
reflection title was open your eyes to the world around you. And for me, like I this, but like obviously maybe anybody tuning in doesn't know this. There was a couple good friends that I have named James and James. Both of them are named James. They we a few years ago, maybe I probably feel like 4 or 5 years ago now, decided we wanted to. These are like two of the smartest people that I know. They're like just incredibly, I don't know, intelligent people, like really deep, insightful people. Actually, they're actually fraternity brothers of mine in college, and
Mm-hmm.
they live near me. And I don't know, I was just like somebody you just instantly kind of just connect with, and it's like always really fun conversations. They're just really intelligent people, right? And it's just like one of those, like, just you can have a conversation about anything, and they're gonna have good insights about it, and always an entertaining conversation. Well, every time that we get together, we decided, we always had these fun conversations. We decided it'd be fun to sit down and record it and maybe try to turn it into a podcast. And the best part about all these conversations is every time that we like sit down and talk, eventually it's always about a completely stupid, arbitrary topics none of us really know anything about. But we have strong opinions, and we want to have a good conversation, explore, ask a lot of questions, and all that other good stuff. Well, eventually it always divulges into like somebody getting a little bit too heated, and you end up going like, dude, why are you yelling? Like, just like, it's okay, this is not important. Like, so that was we decided we wanted to call the podcast "Why Are You Yelling?" So we actually have tried to record it. We've recorded it many times. We have like probably, I don't know, 30 hours of recordings, but we'll probably never turn it into a podcast. And honestly, it's probably for the best, because like some of the shit that gets talked about on this thing is like, I would be embarrassed like to have anybody ever hear like these some of these thoughts. But anyway, the reason why I'm even bringing this up is on one of these recording sessions, James Baker, one of the Jameses, had mentioned about octopuses having consciousness. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, yeah. He was like, yeah, check it out. Like, if you think, he was like asking about the ethical implications of like killing an octopus or something like that. And like, I was like, I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, go on the internet, go check it out. Like, the octopuses have like consciousness. Like, they can think, they can do stuff, they can have thoughts about thoughts, or at least that's what people think. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're nuts. Like, I mean, but whatever. And this is about, for me, this is about 5 months into the YOML journey, of when this particular Why Are You Yelling podcast conversation was happening. And at that point in time, I had only really focused on like things like understanding humanity and understanding myself and understanding grief and a lot of the stuff that I was going through with Amelia. So I was really kind of more focused on humans and on how
Mm-hmm.
we think and how we process stuff and our emotions and things like that. I really hadn't started to branch out on this journey yet to other minds, really. So when he said this that night, I immediately was like, huh, okay, let me go explore that, because this is the year of magical learning. I'm curious, I want to learn. So I ended up, going on Amazon and trying to find the first book that sounded interesting about octopuses to confirm what he was talking about and learn more myself. And this is what I settled on, right? So what I ended up learning was, yeah, I mean, octopuses do have consciousness, or thought to be, and it kind of really started to open my eyes, and it sent me down a rabbit hole of this was like that first book that really kicked off that catalyst of going, shit, maybe we aren't that exceptional. Maybe there are, other things in this world that are worth exploring besides just humanity, and it, as what I had done on that particular, up to that point in time on this journey. And it brought me to this rabbit hole of a lot of the books we've talked about already on this journey, the botany of desire, the secret lives of trees, the entangled life, I contain multitudes, the hidden life of animals, eager, the story of the secret life of the beavers, cooked, rain, from bacteria to back and back again, on the origin of species, the omnivore's dilemma. Like, I mean, I can go on and on and on at this point in time about all the other books that I was exploring around, like, other creatures in this world and other things and other understanding of it just sent me down this wormhole of going, man, like, we are pretty connected, like, to everybody, and we all, what I've learned, I guess, thus far, that I was reflecting back on when I was thinking about this book is everybody has a purpose in this world, and I mean everything, and like everybody has, like, like, even if it's grass has a purpose, like trees have a purpose, every animal, cephalopod, whatever, they all have purposes. And like, the more that we are willing to open our eyes to see that, this is all one big interconnected thing going on, and I think the more that, we're just open to learn, and understanding, like, hey, we're special, but we're not that special. Like, like we're cool, but a lot of other things are cool too. And just, makes you want to go be curious about, how we interact with other people, and how we play off of their purpose, and how we are better because of them. So that was what this book really made me think about. So at the end of the day, it was, open your eyes to the world around you, and start to branch out of just humanity, and branch out of what we know, right? So yeah, I'll pause there. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so based on your reflection, I think, this is a rooted concept that you and I have been kind of like imprinted in our, I guess, cornerstone of company is I don't know shit, you don't know shit, we don't know shit, right?
Right.
And so there's so many different things we don't know, so many. It's just like you're talking about.
Infinite.
I mean, you're talking about, like, when James told you about the octopus, and saying, "Oh, I don't believe you. You're a cuckoo kind of guy,"
Right.
And so that's the thing is, there are. I mean, you don't know shit.
Remember when you told me like 3 months ago that somebody can hold their breath for, like, how long did you say?
I told you 6 minutes as a Navy,
I thought they
that's a minimum, right? And you told me, and you thought it was impossible, right? You're gonna die.
I actually thought you would die.
Yeah, but
I mean, like,
I think the records is probably more than that. Probably, like, I don't know for sure, but I'll probably like 3 times that, 18 minutes, 20 minutes at least.
Let's see. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
Right, but I'm saying is, as far as, like, the universe is
24
concerned,
minutes.
24 minutes. That's like 4 times what I told you.
Yeah.
And so, like, that person would have died 6 times over. Right. So my point is still that the knowledge of the universe we have maybe stumbled upon, and maybe knows the just a little fraction, a so small fraction of the total knowledge in the universe. So that means that for me and you, there's nothing that I can tell you that I'm certain, and there's nothing that because there's nothing I can be certain of what's going to happen to me tomorrow, or the next 5 minutes, or the next hour. That is a given, and that's the thing is people a lot of time thinks about hey, I'm certain of this, I'm certain of that, and because of that you lose your I guess your flexibility, your imaginations when you have you have a
curiosity.
Well, you don't have a curiosity, but we have a certainty. right? Because
Right.
they say, well, I'm right and you're wrong, right? That's a certainty. You hold on to a certainty that is not a certainty. I mean, that's why I said before in terms of the gut, right? The gut tells you something, and we think, hey, um, I've experienced this for so many years. I am certain it's gonna be this. The thing is,
Right.
no one knows because the problem is, we have essentially a minute glimpse of the data that the universe has, and even the data we have of the universe is still incomplete because we don't know for sure. And even when we're talking about the gut, right? The gut has, like last time we talked about the gut. The gut has the ability to give you some kind of like a sixth sense, like I felt like the gut is telling me this, if you're telling me that, right? And you have to listen to the omen. And
Right.
one of the interesting thing about the book about the octopus is that in the I guess the lineage of the tree, right? Meaning that we have a common ancestor like back in the
Just
millions of
life.
years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Bacteria.
We
Yeah.
had a similar I guess branch of that tree of life, and
Right.
that tree of life start to split, and then you think about like one of the interesting that I have discovered from reading this book is that um, the octopus has those brains in their tentacles,
Right. That
right?
is
It's
it.
not so the thing is you look at the the octopus itself, right? Its complete brain is actually dispersed, decentralized
Right.
into its the head and the tentacle. So that means that even if you chop off half of them, they still have some kind of sensory on the other side is able to make decisions.
Right.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting is that because we came from the same ancestors, right? That means that even though we predominantly have our brain in our cranium, but to me, we also have a same characteristic as the octopus, meaning we have the brains or the sensory, the nervous system portion, the partial of it, in our gut, in our hands, in our feet. So that means that our gut is actually a second brain, the other brain, meaning that because we came from the, even though we are
Yeah.
completely
It is.
dominated by the brain that we have, because like let's say it's like 90% versus 10%. You have the other brain that's 10% functional, right?
Right.
But because it's so dominant in the other one, you don't look at the 10% as a brain. But I'm thinking like if the octopus has the brain, because octopus it diverge its branch and it divides its brain function equally amongst all those the one in the central body, the one in the tentacles, right? They have equal footing in terms of the decision making. We as a human being, we diverge to a different branch and we start to centralize our brain inside of our head, right? But
Mhm.
that means to me that I think there is residual brains in our other system. And talking about the nervous system,
It's interesting.
the gut, right? To me, the
Right.
gut is a brain because
It is for sure.
you
Yeah.
you you may not realize it because, like I said before, it's so dominant in terms of what our brains is doing that we ignore the signal. It basically it trumps the signal. But when you sense something bad coming, right? That's your stomach is telling you something's coming,
Right.
right? That means that other brain has a different sense, different set of sensory that's able to sense something different than your brain or your conscious would have be able to normally recognize. And so to me, that we have some of the residual of the second brains in our gut, in our other, I don't know, it could be in our hands too. So sometimes we can feel it in our hands or in our bones. I know
Right.
people say, hey, I get a chilling feeling on my spine or whatever. So to me, like it may not be as equally equally distributed as the octopus does, but I think we still have some of those common resemblance of our common ancestor of the octopus, meaning that we
Yeah.
have these nervous system and these brains that actually can function and be able to give us the decision that we need. But that's something that I've kind of like took out from this book. But from your reflection title is, we don't know shit, meaning that there's so much information that we don't know. And a lot of times when new information comes in, we are completely
blown away.
we couldn't even believe that's possible.
Right.
You're talking about, hey, a person can hold their breath for more than 6 minutes, and I'm like, that's not possible.
Right.
You're talking about the guy who broke the 4-minute mile, right? You and I know about that story because the story is for the longest time, and people keep saying, hey, based on what we know, on our past experience and our scientific studies and our observation, this and that if a human can run past, can run under 4 minutes, their body would bust into flame or whatever, because that's not physically possible. And that was the limitation. That was the mindset that the society held on, right? And no one broke the record until one crazy dude, for whatever reason, didn't read a memo, or for whatever reason he has the forgetfulness of whatever, and he busts open the quote unquote the doctrine, right? And then, like, within months after he broke that, after like decades of people couldn't pass a 4-minute mile, months after he broke the 4-minute mile, other people broke his record, right? So the thing is, a lot of times we have that limitations. And going back to our core concept and the core lesson that we learn is, when we say we don't know shit, means that if you take the perspective of you don't know shit, you're going to be better off in terms of making decisions. But if you do hold on to a certainty, whatever certainty that you hold on to, you are limiting yourself from achieving the next thing. Because like I said right now, like, people are going to tell me, hey, I'm an idiot if I tell you that because everybody believes human dies, everything dies, right? And I tell you I don't believe it, people say I'm a cuckoo head. Right? Because everybody believes that human will die. Right? And if I say that is not something that I believe in, then people say, hey, what are you talking about? All of these data, all of these experiences, all of these observations, all of these studies have told everyone since the dawn of time until today that everybody dies.
Well, it's the black swan. I mean, it's
because the thing is, because everybody believes it, then if you believe it, you will be right.
Right.
Because if you telling yourself that you could not pass the 4-minute mile, then you will never do. If you tell yourself that you could not hold your breath for 6 minutes, then you will never hold your for 6 minutes. That's my point, right? My point is that nothing, even death, is certainty. Because if you accept the certainty, you will live up to that certain limitation. You won't pass it. So for me, even the most, like, outrageous claim as, everybody died, I say I don't believe it. I think there is a way for us not to die. Right? And so I'm one of the crazy one among the billions of people, right? Like, we have like 7 billion people, and every 7 billion one of us believe that we will die. Therefore, every one of us will die. Until some guy is so idiotic enough to think that we won't, right? And maybe he won't make it. It's a statistic game, right? But the point I'm trying to say is, if you believe it, like I said before, if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right. Because however you think, it's going to be your destination. You will abide by your limitation of your mindset. And so when we're talking about we don't know shit, meaning that, hey, I'm not accepting anything. I'm just saying, hey, this is what we know. This is what we're going to work with. And whatever comes in, if new information comes in, I'll revise my decision. I'm not going to hold on to anything that's certainty, because certainty is what's put us in a limitation in the first place.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. And I think that's one of the, this is called the year of magical learning for a reason. I think one of the reasons why, like, I love that title is because it is like magic when you discover this stuff, right? Like
It
when
is.
you
I mean, the
in
thing is,
your,
for us,
you know,
we would never, ever going to even project ourselves to the point where, hey, we're gonna be able to learn this, we learn that. We have no
right,
idea. Everything that comes to us is at a complete surprise because
right, yeah,
who knows that, hey, we
right,
have more than one brain. Say, what the hell, right?
right,
That, hey, octopus can have like, can think. Even if you split it in half, it can think, right? It can think. I mean, it can live and think on the other half of the brain because the brain will compensate and
right.
will be able to get out of whatever obstacle that you give it. And to me, that's something that not in a million years that I would be able to figure it out on my own.
No,
And
for
so
sure. I mean,
if I held on to my the principle of kind of like the your what was it the knowledge curse or whatever you call it, because you completely, because like you're talking about like expert, right? Because expert
right.
probably do worse than a monkey just because they are so certain in the way they use things before,
Oh
so
yeah,
they
it's like
only,
it's a
it's a
bias.
bias, it's a
Yeah,
complete bias in terms of whatever, I
confirmation
guess,
bias.
yeah, confirmation by on the directions or
What are you looking for?
on the sector of its of whatever they think they know, and they
Right.
stays in it because you're talking about, hey, I'm using a scientific method to find out this and that, right? Because you are inside of the paradigm. Because
Right.
I can tell you, like, for example, I drove down to Florida, with my family, and then along the road, I saw, a bunch of people wearing, the Mickey and the Minnie hat on their head, right? And then the next time, and then the next thing I saw, a bunch of ducks, right?
Right.
What do you think about? You think about Donald Duck, Daffy
Yeah.
Duck,
Right. Right.
whatever, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
But I'm talking about the actual ducks, right? That's the
Right.
thing, is when you think, when, hey, man, he's talking about Disney, so everything got to be inside Disney. This has to be. Who say it has
Right.
to be? And that's the point, is we completely take into this confirmation bias, this realm of expertise, and then we make everything wrong regardless of whether or not some information is new to us. We say, hey, it got to fit into this paradigm,
Yeah.
into
I
this
mean,
map that we draw for ourselves, right? The map is not accurate if there's new information, and no one told you that it has to be the same map. And
right. I
that's
mean,
that's that's the point.
you find what you're looking for, right? Like, I mean, that, like
Yes,
that's
exactly.
so if you're not open to, to seeing things you're not looking for like that, then you don't grow, you don't evolve. Like yesterday I was on a flight back from New York City for New Year's Eve, and
Mhm.
we were descending back through the clouds, and like this is how weird my brain is these days. I'm like, as we're flying back through the clouds, I'm looking out the window, and I'm literally wondering, man, I wonder what it was like for the first people that ever flew through the clouds, number one. And then I was wondering, like, and then it led me to another question of going, like, what are clouds even there for? Like, why do we need clouds? Like, what would this world look like without clouds? And I was like, well, I guess then we wouldn't have like weather. And if we didn't have weather, then we wouldn't have like water. If we didn't have like water, we wouldn't have like crops, and we wouldn't have agriculture. And we wouldn't have like all these other stories. And then and like, literally, this is what I was thinking during this whole entire time. And I'm like, even clouds have a purpose. Like, cloud, like, what would this world look like if it was a cloudless world? Like, I mean, it would be weird. And then I was like, man, how freaked out was somebody the first time they flew through the clouds? Like, I mean, what did you think was on the other side of that? Like, I mean, I'd be like, I mean, I don't know. Like, does it end? Like, I mean, seriously, like, I mean, I don't know. It just starts to make you wonder, like, what am I doing? Like, how do the things that you're interacting with in this world, do you just, take for granted, and like, yeah, I don't know. It just,
I
it's,
mean,
it's
it's those
curiosity.
principles we're talking about before. Is, what you see is all there is, right?
Right.
From the book,
Yeah.
think fast and slow,
That's exactly
because
what.
it is not. Because you think,
Right.
hey, the cloud is whatever. Then I look for the cloud, the rainbow. Where's the rainbow end? Where does it start? Where did it end?
Right.
Tell me, where does the rainbow start and where did it end?
No idea.
No one knows.
Yeah,
But
right.
that's the point, because when you see the rainbow, you clearly see there's stuff from here, it goes over there. right?
Right.
But when you look for the rainbow, you know where to be found. You look at the
Well, it's the
cloud, right? I'm flying to this fluffy cloud, right? But I don't see anything. I
right.
fly through it, I don't see anything. And that's the point is, if we hold on to certainty, we oftentimes we do not find the answer we need. And I can give you an example of these principles that save, you know. So um, one of my like, I guess, specialization is remedial, you know, like go and fix things and
Right.
speed up coding and project and whatnot. So I went to a company. They have this project that they couldn't get finished because some kind of issues, right? That that particular project has been given to like 5 different teams to do the work in a span of 7 years. They could not fix it
Right.
until they bring me in for me to fix it. How do I fix it?
You looked at it from a different perspective, probably. I mean, you were
I,
fresh
I
eyes.
looked I looked I looked at I looked at the problem, and basically what I did is I took whatever they thought would work as a certainty. I threw it
Right.
out. I say, you think this work? Everybody assume this thing is 100% is working, and I say, well, I don't believe it, even though there's no reason for me to doubt you, but I'm gonna doubt it anyway. I took that, I
Right.
threw it out. I put a different solution in. In like 2 weeks, it's fixed.
Right.
This
There's
is this
always
is what I'm
something you don't
talking
know.
about. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about when you look at the problem from the uncertainty perspective, you will find different ways to solve the problem. If you come in with the same certainty, hey,
Right.
the scientific method is flawless, or this is flawless, or whatever, you take it and you make the assumption this is always work, then you're gonna have the issue. You can never fix it. I'm
Right.
talking about. I'm not saying that I'm smarter than anyone. I'm just saying, hey, the perspective give me
No,
the
you're actually
ability
saying you're
to.
dumber than other people. You're
I
actually
am.
you're dumber. Like, you know, which is good. Like, because that is the right mentality. You're like, I don't understand. I haven't seen this. I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna completely, you know, it's the beginner's mind. It's the law. It's you know,
Because
it's
the thing is that the thing is that the problem,
it's
like, and I've
principle.
I've done this like multiple times, not just once, but multiple times. Like everybody's, because I'm talking about like, to the point where, like, one of the company in the oil field, like they only hire PhDs. I don't have a PhD or a master. Like they won't even take like no one with a bachelor, right?
Right.
But I'm the only one that they can bring me in as a specialist to fix the thing they couldn't fix, because no one else, everybody else that's come before me has failed. So that's why they say, well, this guy he thinks he knows. Let him give him a shot. Right?
Right.
Give me a shot. I fixed it, because that's the thing is they think they know. Because for the past decade, whatever they use has worked. They never thought that thing has changed, right? But for
Right.
me, I don't know shit. So I'm gonna say, well, why are you keep using this thing? Well, I question everything, regardless of whether, because I'm not a PhD, so I don't say, hey, let's say you're talking about like, the new laws of, mass could neither be created or destroyed, right?
Right.
You took that law as Newton law, and it has survived for whatever couple hundred years. And then Einstein comes in and say, well, if E equals mc squared defies that law, then I'm gonna scratch it. That's not a solution. You think about it. If Einstein took that law, Newton's third law, right? Then there's no way that he wouldn't say E equals mc squared is a valid formula.
There
Not
was
as.
there was something I read Stephen Hawking's book, Brief History of Time or whatever. There
Mhm.
was something that he always would say. There's like an assumption that there's some like assumption that physicists makes, because if like astrophysics physicists make.
Mhm.
I forget what he called it, but like every time I heard that, like I was like, oh well, that law is gonna be broken someday, right? Like, I mean, it's just, if you assume, like, if there's some assumption that's made that's like, well, assuming that this happens, like, and then it's like, well, guaranteed at some point in time that law will be more modified and broken, like, because it's like, you to your point, like, you can't assume anything. Like, I mean, who would have assumed, that octopuses could have the same kind of cognitive abilities to think thoughts about thoughts or something like that we have. Like, I would have never assumed that, like, like assumed that we're the only people. Actually, if anything, what I did assume before this whole journey was that we were the only people that had consciousness, like the only beings that had consciousness in this planet, right? Like, I mean, I assumed like that was it, right? I've never seen anything like that. I've never heard of anything like that. I've never encountered anything like that.
But
Like,
doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That's
it
the
doesn't mean
thing.
it doesn't
That's the
exist,
thing
right?
is,
Like,
for me, is my philosophy is you cannot prove anything. You can only
right.
disprove it. You cannot prove anything. No law
Yeah.
is universal. You're talking about laws of gravity, right? You say, well, law of gravity. It's because you're on gravity. You're inside of the system. How
Right.
can you turn off gravity, for example, right? So any law that we made, right, is never universal. It's just this is what we accepted at the moment, just because we haven't found the other
That's just a label.
scenario that will actually debunk that, right? And so when you took into the account, right, you have the ability to say, okay, if I were to go onto this crazy tangent, then maybe I continue to explore. But if you're talking about, like, for example, E equal mc squared, if Einstein arrived at this equation, he said, well, this is wrong. I'm going to stop doing it. I don't want to be a crazy guy. I don't want to be like this nutcase, right? I'm going to throw it away because it obviously violates the Newton's third law. Therefore, right, you have, go back to what I'm saying is, okay, everybody believes that humans die. Everything died. And if I were one of those guys who does not, right, I will, if I stumble onto something, I'm going to continue to explore, right?
Actually,
it's not to say that I may find it, but my chance of finding is better than you because you have zero chance. I have 0.001%. Right. You have zero chance because you stopped. My chance is more than you, infinitely more than you, because I'm crazy. I refuse to accept that. So I can, even if I come up with a solution, right? I don't use the fact that you tell me that it's certain that everybody dies. If I accept that, then I will stop going. There's no point in continuing to explore something that if I accept and believe certainly that everybody's gonna die. But if I don't believe in it, then I will continue to say, well, I don't believe in it, therefore I'm gonna explore and see what happens. If you look at Einstein, if he believes that Newton's third law is a valid law which has held for like couple hundred years ago, right? If he believes in that rule, therefore whatever he come up with, he said, well, I've got to be missing something. It doesn't work. I throw it away. Therefore, we would not have the E equal mc squared formula. You took that. I mean, take that and think about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only that, like, I'm sure he's wrong too. Like, I'm sure I'm 100. If there's anything that I'm sure of with E equals mc squared,
there's nothing you sure of.
There's not. I'm sure that he's probably not right. I mean, like,
the point is, I think, to kind of summarize in what we're trying to say in terms of the reflection and the lesson that we can take from this, because not only that, because like I said before, in my line of work, my job is to fix things that no one can fix. Right. And taking from this beginner's mind, quote unquote, the I don't know shit perspective, it gives you more options.
That's
because
you're a better book. If the Zen should write "I don't know shit" instead of beginner's mind. Like, you should just write a book that's like "I don't know shit" methodology. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, I mean, that's right, because I'm talking about, like, when you don't know shit, you will take what?
In Rutgers, I swear to God, man, oh God. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying that, when you are with the perspective of you don't know shit, right? You would take the most absurd, you weight the most absurd solution as equal to the most probable, that you, right, in your mind. Because if you are sane and you think, hey, this thing has 0 chance or 0.1 chance of being even like remote, you start to discard it. You discard a solution that is the correct solution. Right. Now, my problem is the problem is that you are going to discard the correct solution way too early if you think you make the assumption of But if you don't take the assumption that you know shit, right? Therefore, all of the data point has equal validity among the others. because that's what I'm saying is when you talking about, hey, I receive a bunch of different data points, which data point is not correct, which one should I discard, right? How will you discard them? This is what people do. They say, well, this one is clustered in here, so anything's outside of that, I'm going to discard it.
Yeah, I mean,
right. And so if you discard the solution, you discard would have been a correct solution.
I mean, most likely everything that we're talking about in this journey is probably wrong. So, and that's okay. Like, I think one of the coolest things for me personally is oh my God. Fucking Rutgers. Sorry. The last year Purdue was #1 in the country, played Rutgers and lost on a last second shot. And lost their #1 ranking. And this year they just lost their first game of the season as the number one team in the country to Rutgers on a last second shot. That's whatever. They're so good. It's fine. I'll get over it. Not a big deal. Moving on. It was just disheartening. If anybody doesn't know, Purdue's my alma mater, and we love basketball here in Indiana, so it's a big deal. It's basketball is a big deal in Indiana. But anyway, I think the
so is Indy.
I thought, huh?
So is Indy.
Right. Exactly.
So what is it?
It's basketball. Well, this is a basketball This is a basketball state, without a doubt. Like that is always #1, without a doubt. But anyway, no, I think one of the coolest things about this whole entire project is we're not there's two things that I love about this. Is first one, I think we know that we're wrong with most of the stuff that we talk about. We're evolving and we're finding our way through it. When I read this book, this was almost 2.5 years ago now, and I think what I think of from this book, from where I've learned since then, it's like a whole nother incredible journey that I don't even know, this thing is going to continue on and on and on. So the journey is the fun part about all this stuff. And what I learned with this was just one tiny little puzzle piece in the whole big puzzle that I don't even know if there is a puzzle, I don't know what we're actually putting together. But the second thing that I love about this is what we've kind of found is the secret sauce for us has been, live your values, because there is no right way to live your values. There is no wrong way to live your values. It is literally an open-ended system at that point in time. So if there's anything that I should know in this universe, it is myself, and I should know what makes me feel energized or not energized, right? That I should know. That should be the only thing that I know in this entire universe, right? Is how I feel and how I interact with the world. So therefore, while we may be wrong about everything that we talk about in this whole journey, the one thing that I'm pretty damn sure that I'm 100% right about is how I feel and how my values guide me every single day through this changing evolution. And that's the really cool thing about this whole entire journey, is while we can say we don't know anything, we also know a lot about ourselves, and through this journey as well. And we're still evolving that, but as we that over your lifetime, you will solidify. If you don't know yourself by the time you leave this earth, that's a shame. Honestly, that I feel awful for you if you don't leave this world knowing what did True and care about, and how to and able to do those stuff that you cared about. Or a beaver, or whatever, all the other things that we talk about, right? If you ever left this earth not knowing what was important to you, not to everybody else, just to you, that's a shame. But everything else, it's open season. Just go figure it out, because you probably don't know anything. I guarantee you, I don't know what the purpose of a tree is, and I guarantee you, I don't know how they feel, or they, I don't know, whatever you want to label them as. I don't know what that entity, life form feels, right? I don't know if they, what energizes them or does not energize them. I can guess, but it's just a guess, But for me, it's not a guess. I know it.
I mean, that's the point, though. I mean, when we're talking about the not knowing, I don't know shit, right? It's not as simple as you think it is, right? I don't know shit about anything. Else. That's why the only thing I can rely on is how I feel about things. And that's what I'm saying is we're talking about the lineage track. I don't know where it's gonna lead, but I know that it feels right.
Right.
That's what we mean, right? So it's more profound than just the sheer meaning of the word I don't know shit. I don't know shit about anything else, but I know something about how I feel about this.
Right.
And the point is, because you don't know shit about anything else, there's no certainty. There's no destination for you to say, hey, I need to be there at this time, at this place, whatever. It's
Right.
about how do you feel, right? Are you beavering on purpose? Meaning, are you
You doing you on
happy? Are
purpose.
you happy in this environment, right? Are you following the track and the track feels right to you?
So
Isn't
you
about, okay, I know where the track leads and I know where it's going to end. That thing is, we don't know shit. But regardless, right? Meaning that the fact that we don't know what the future holds for us means that we can only know what we feel. Therefore, we need to focus more of our attentions and effort on the things that we can feel, can be, I guess, can detect whether or not we're on the right path or on the wrong path. Because if for example, if I stop breathing, for example, I hold my breath, it doesn't feel good. Therefore, I know, hey, that's not the right way. Then I need
right.
to breathe, right? So for me, like as a human being, I need to breathe. As a tree, it needs to consume sunlight and photosynthesis and carbon dioxide. As piece of rock, it does something else, right? It doesn't need to breathe air. But for me, as a human being, I need to breathe air. Therefore, I only know if I stop breathing, then I know I'm in the wrong track. If I continue to breathe and I don't feel pain, I don't feel the boredom or this and that, right? The negative feelings that, from my perspective, it's not from your perspective. Like I say, a guy could be on a wheelchair and be happy. A guy, if you put me in a wheelchair, I won't be happy, even though, right? You know what I mean? Even though it takes less effort to put me in a wheelchair, but for me, it's like I don't want to be a donkey in a shed. I want to go out there and exert my energy to jump up and get up and down
Right.
the field, the plane, whatever, right? I want to be out. I don't want to be the donkey in the shed. And so that to me is, from my perspective, the negatives and the positive of my emotion determines whether or not I'm on the right path. That's all I can rely on. I can't rely on the certainty of anything.
But for that, you do know, like if it's you,
Because
you know
because
that
that's what you made. Because when you express something that you have,
right.
you know that,
Trust your
hey,
gut.
you
It feels
exactly,
right or it doesn't, right? Like
you have the emotions, and it will
right.
tell you whether it's negative or positive. That you know,
Yep.
and that's the only thing I think that you know.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's the coolest part about this whole journey is like while you don't know anything about anything else, like so ask a million questions and always be curious about yourself. You should also be curious and ask a lot of questions, but slowly over time you do know yourself. Like, and if you don't, like, then you're not doing something right. Like that questioning, that evolution, that understanding of yourself, your emotions, what feels good, what doesn't, what aligns, what doesn't, like that evolution is that knowledge growth does lead to somewhere because it's you. Only you can determine that. Like if you're not right about yourself, then there's no way that anybody else is going to be right about yourself. So if you
But
can't
because no one
understand,
ever give a shit about yourself, about you, they want to give a shit about themselves.
right,
That's the point. It's only based on your perspectives,
exactly,
right? It's your perspective whether it's right or wrong, quote unquote. I don't think the right or wrong is a universal thing. It's a perspective.
of you for
It's a
yourself for sure.
perspective, right? Because you're right or wrong depending on which team you're on, a team you want to root for, right? It doesn't
Right, yeah,
matter, right?
exactly,
If one of
yeah,
the team's gonna win, okay, you could be right if you are not on you root for another team, or you be wrong. So it doesn't matter. It's always relative. It's
right.
relative. So everything you comes down to is your perspective. How is it relative to you, right? Meaning that you have to know because you are the only point of reference that matter.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
no one else gonna give a shit about you.
And this is when it goes down to our other favorite quote of if you don't bring forth what's inside of you, what you don't bring forth will destroy you, or vice versa. It'll save you, right?
Right.
Like
Just saying you put a donkey in a shed, he'll die.
right, exactly. Like
Because if he has the thing inside of him, he needs to get out and bounce and gallop and whatever, and you tell him how to not to bring forth what's inside of him, or he'll die. But
Right.
if he's dying and you tell him to go out and gallop and be what he's supposed to be in from inside, then he'll survive, right? That's the meaning of what you just said. You know, if you don't bring forth what's inside of you, it will kill you. But if you bring forth what's inside of you, it will save you.
And then for everything else, just ask a lot of questions. Like, I mean, like I don't know if I could be any clearer with like, you know, like where my mind has gone is like everything else in this world is subject to curiosity, questioning,
It's always subject to questions. It's
right.
always anything, even a thing that you think is certainty, right? To me, like people, like, think about it.
Right?
I'm making this outrageous claim here. Like everybody died. I say no. I refuse to believe that. Right?
I mean,
I could be the cuckoo guy, right? That doesn't believe in, you know, the mortality of human beings. I refuse to believe it. I say, hey, that gotta be way. It's, you know, a rare, you know, needle in a huge haystack, but I believe it's there. When I believe it's there, I will continue to search. You know, my search could be in vain, but doesn't mean that because if I believe there isn't, then my fate is sealed.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what we want to say to you is questions everything, even the one that has been proven for eons and millions of years and whatever. Question it anyway.
Sure. I mean, 100% agree with that. Like, it's like that's the meaning of we don't know anything. Like, you know, like that is the true definition of like, I can guarantee you that everything that we think we know about this world right now and in 2023, fast forward to 46, I guarantee you everything that we thought we know, if assuming humanity is still around and we've continued to evolve,
it will be around.
Everything that we did think we knew right now, probably we didn't. Like, I mean, like I get like it's like hell. You remember Why Fish Don't Exist? You know, like that book that was like early on in this journey. And like, you know, that only took 100 years for us to say that fish don't exist. You know, like, you know, quote unquote, like how, I mean, things will just fall down by the wayside. Things that we like, you would wake up every day and you're like, I just ate fish for lunch, and then 100 years later, like, no, you didn't just eat fish for lunch. You ate what? I don't know.
Something.
Yeah, what the fuck did I eat? I don't know. I like, I don't care.
You relabel them. You relabel everything. It's like shit.
Exactly. So
you know, I mean, called fish. Yeah.
I don't know. We can call it whatever.
It's called pie. Whatever.
Exactly. That's a sweet now. You know. I don't know. I mean, shit. I guess the, you know, bottom line, I guess moral for me, the final thought for me is like, the best part about this whole journey is knowing yourself 100%, like where you are you are locked in on what you care about and and knowing yourself and going down that path, and then come what may. The other half of it is you don't know anything about anything, and continue to explore that, because it'll feed the other side of it, you know, to help you to understand yourself even more, right? Like as you slowly,
it's a spiral effect. It's a spiral effect, because if you take the perspective I don't know anything, then you're going to ask questions. Because if you say, hey, I know this is not possible, then you stop asking questions. I guarantee you, this is how our brains works.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself that I cannot run a 400-minute mile, then you won't. I guarantee you that. If you tell yourself that I cannot survive this concentration camp, then you won't.
If I tell myself my daughter's not here, she's not. I mean, like,
exactly. Then she's forgotten, because you decide that. That's actively your brain's going to do exactly what you want it to do.
I mean, like, here, I gotta finish on this really positive note. Well, I'm gonna pause my screen share real fast. I gotta pull up Facebook and show you this message. So this is from my wife's cousin. Her name's Lauren. Like, I don't really know Lauren a ton. I mean, I've met her, you know, many a times in our, you know, in my wife and I's like life together. So this is a message. So like a few months ago, she decided to pick up Amelia's book and about Amelia, and she just sent me this message out of the blue saying she was like, I read it in like 2 days, and it was like, it's changed my life. You know, fast forward, like, this is about like a month and a half later, out of the blue yesterday, I'm getting ready to board a flight, and I get this message from her saying, Happy New Year. my husband, she just got married. She was like, so weird to say my husband we decided we wanted to start a book club in 2023, inspired by Amelia. This month's book is going to be Thinking Fast and Slow.
Wow. Okay.
She and her story really changed my world and the world in general. We could have never done this or this book club or picked the first book were it not for y'all's story. The book club may seem small, but it's something really significant to me. So like I wanted to share that because like, and then also you know what I did on Friday or Thursday when I took my team out for dinner. I ended up having drinks with like a few of them till midnight or something like that at a bar. And in this bar, we ended up talking about purpose and pain. A lot of, I didn't bring this stuff up. They were asking me questions because they've been following along with this journey. They read these blogs. They asked me about it. They ping me and they're like, wanting to be, curious about some of these things. They were just peppering me with questions about purpose. Like I'm not even joking. And I was like, it made me stop and think and look around. Like, like Amelia's here. The name Amelia was said 100 times.
It's
while
going
in that bar.
Amelia is going to survive as long as the Amelia Tower survives.
Right.
And
exactly.
Amelia Tower is actually a company. You think about it, right?
No,
because to me, like I say, you are her father. I am not. I can only got to know her through your experience. And
right.
even for me, the central core of what I look at in company is Amelia. Because she, for whatever reason, have created this inspiration, the core of what we look at in terms of what his company is all about. You think about it. She is the one that sparks you to go into this journey.
Right.
And you happen to found me in a similar state. And we have been whisked by the cyclone of this Amelia rubble that has been completely uplifted. So Clubany is going to last. Amelia's name going to last even longer than that.
Exactly. And to kind of bring that full circle to what we were just talking about before when I gave you that example is as long as we believe that, like, it is true. Like, like it, and that's something that we have the power to change or not change. Like, and I'm never going to change that. So like, I can tell you right now, that is never going to change for the rest of my life. That is purpose, right? Like, so that this is what I'm saying. I do know shit about me. I do know shit about what I believe and what I want to believe. That makes me feel good, right? Like I'm not saying about the world and what I believe. Like I don't care about other people's issues, right? I believe that my daughter is here, and I also believe that my daughter can help change other people's lives by sharing her story and how she's changed me and how she continues to help me, live a better
right. Because the thing is, it's the manifestation, right? Because
right.
It's a manifestation is you have to talk about this. I, for whatever reason, has to talk about this. I don't know why, but I just get energized when I'm talking about this, right? This is called manifestation. Whatever we are created as a combinations of the patterns of DNA want us to do this, just like a donkey in the shed. The donkey have the capacity and the faculty to go out there and jump out on the plane and do whatever in the field, run fast, do crazy stuff, right?
Right.
He don't want to be in the shed, be sheltered from the elements, and be protected from the wolves and the pests and the flies and the fleas and the whatever, the bugs, right? He wants to go out there and be free. That's his DNA, his core being, right? Need to manifest. You and I are manifesting ourselves based on what we have, our own DNA, our combinations of what our trait and physical characteristic contains, and we want to do that. And when we do that, right, we feel energized. You think about a donkey getting to guide up in the open field, right? He's energized. He, for whatever reason, he's had energy. But if you put him to the shed, right, he feels weak.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You think about it. He's in the shed. He's protected. Why the fuck did he feels weak? He didn't exert any energy. Where did energy go? But when he goes out there and then spend the energy, he gets stronger. He goes faster. He's happier. Right. He expands the energy, but then he has more energy. So tell me where the logic is. That's what I'm saying is we manifesting this thing that we are, quote unquote company, right? For whatever reason, energizes us. It gives us more energy. We're more pumped after we, when we talk about this. We can't wait until we talk about this. And we're doing this for what? 2.5 years.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, think about like 2,000 years from now, right? Like that's the seventh generation committee. That's why we do the seventh generation committee, you know, like, I mean, because well, it's not 2,000 years, but you know, let's say that's
Why not?
500 years or something
Why
like
can't it
that.
be 2,000 years? Because like I told you before, an outrageous claim. I mean, I don't know if anyone can make even more outrageous claim than I just did. Can you think of anyone has ever claimed something more outrageous than I just did? I'm telling you that
Yeah.
human beings is supposed to die, and I say no, that's not. I'm making a claim that we can be immortal.
There's
We can be immortal. You just refuse to look.
What was the book? It's called the Gilgamesh Project, but I can't remember what book. Oh, that was what it was. You've all know Harari in Sapiens. He talks about the Gilgamesh Project. This is exactly what you're talking about. It's the project for quest for immortality, or at least a greater longevity.
But that's what I'm saying is when you say 2,000 years, you start to dial back, and they say, well, lessons learned, lessons, right. Chris, lessons. Don't stop. They say, right, no, no, fucking 2,000, 2 million. Go outrageous, right? Do you believe or you don't? Yeah, do you believe, right? If you believe, don't dial back for your quote unquote your humanity's, like, what do you call it? The bias. Right. You're biased towards the humanity's common belief. Hey, you know, it won't last 500 years, won't last 2,000 years, right? That's common belief, right? You are biased because you're inside of that paradigm. Because you're inside that paradigm, you always say, hey, well, that's too outside of its rim of possibility, so I gotta move back in. Right. But you are compelled to do that, right?
You just made me laugh thinking somebody's watching this, 2 million years down the road, and they just heard me bitch about Purdue losing to Rutgers, and they're gonna be like, "What the fuck was Purdue like in Rutgers? Like, what is he talking about? Like, I have no idea.
What's basketball?
Yeah, what's
basketball?
Like, like Indiana? What is that? Anyway, like that. Yeah, it's really funny actually. All right, let's I think feel good to say let's put a pin on this one. Where do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about, like, don't limit yourself. I said this before. Don't limit your mindset. Unlimit them. Right? Don't, because I'm saying, like I say, we tend to want to kind of conform to certain paradigm we think is a paradigm we should be in. If you do that, you're limiting yourself. Don't limit yourself.
Great. I love it. It's a good way to end. So the question we can ask you all is, what do you see and feel when you look at other life forms around you? What questions does it generate? Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Wow. Yeah. The second exciting episode of the year.